never giving up. Child acting 8 years ago, wondering go. Easy fun, win, everything everywhere all at once.
I'll start the recording. So the meeting is starting at 7:02. We have Elena, Karen, Joy, and Rebecca. So we do have a quorum at this point, and Hope is also here. So I do have the thing pulled up. I have it open, and let me go back up to the top. Okay, so what Deb sent us was a comparison of the last several years, and we have to basically what I want to do tonight is just go through what everything is on here, and then down at the bottom I've got some information on the increases, but there's a couple of things that I want to look into, and I want to discuss some of these things, and then next week we'll come back and we'll do an intensive work through on this budget. So the first things on the budget are the pay increases. There isn't a lot we can do about that. That is minimum wage increases that are state mandated. There's not a whole lot we can do. There are a couple of things here. The state recommends that for our population, we have approximately 4 FTEs. So that's full-time equivalents. That is in addition to a director. So it's actually 5 total. And we have not reached that by any stretch of the imagination. So there is a request in here to hire a second page for another 25 hours a week. Hope, can you address that a little bit?
I'm sorry, could you repeat that? I have Deb on the phone trying to get her in the Zoom.
Okay. Just wanted to know the rationale behind hiring a second page.
Well, we thought, and Deb was talking about, you know, our Zoom meetings or our meetings in general, and everything right now has been on Zoom, but before it was in person. So if we were there to go to a meeting, we don't have coverage. There's only one person there. We can't leave one person in the library if we were to go to a meeting. So Deb was telling me before how the directors, there is always coverage and then the director's hours. And on top of that, we just need another body in the building too, because if anybody calls out for any reason right now, we don't have any coverage.
Right. And as I said, so I don't know if you heard me, looking at what the state recommends, we
Yes.
are short people. And I know we have a lot less people than we have had just pre-pandemic 3 years ago.
Yeah.
The other thing I wanted to point out, and this is something that we can discuss, like I said, I just want to go over some basics this week, and then we'll go into depth next week. And this is the programmer.
Mm-hmm.
Do we have somebody in that position?
We don't right now. We do have a possible, I know if you know Steve, he's going to do his internship, and then he's looking into the job if we can find somebody before that, but he said he's very interested and, you know, he'd be very fit for the job.
Okay, because I don't want to put money in, because last year we had $13,000 in there and no one was hired. So
Yeah.
if we do have somebody who's interested, that's something different. I just don't want to put $14,000 in if we're never going to hire somebody.
Yeah, and he would be starting too, like June. He would be in there at the transition.
Okay. So what I found was that just pay increases for positions that were already there was an increase in $7,262, which is 4% of last year's budget. So that's a 4% increase. Hiring the second page is another 9% roughly increase. That is just wages. That 7262 isn't anything that we can change. So that is. Give me
Can I
one
ask a
sec.
question?
Yes, Elena.
So, as I understand, I just want to have a full picture of everything. So I would like to see if it's possible, if we have any data, any statistics for this year for the town use of the library, because I have a very strong feeling that the library is literally forgotten comparing with how it was 5 years ago. The amount of people who attended, I heard lots of families for different reasons who refused to go to the library with multiple kids, and there are reasons for this. That's not the meeting for those reasons. So I am just wondering who is even going there. We're going to increase again the budget, but does it really serve our town? I understand to hire an additional page if we could not manage the amount of public rushing into our library. I think we have a very different situation right there at this point. And if you need people to get together for the meeting, the staff in the library, close the library. I mean, that's going to be very expensive for our library, for our budget, just to pay during the meetings that maybe one person will come in. I don't know. I am practical. I think we really need to start looking at the ways why people do not want to go to the library, not for this meeting. But I personally cannot agree with, at least at this point, maybe there will be additional data, additional facts, not just to cover up the meetings. We need to spend another 10,000, 12,000. Sorry. It's just a point for future consideration. So my question was, sorry, I lost it a little bit. Is there any data which shows the attendance of the library this particular year comparing with the previous 10 years? Not for every year.
Yeah, actually, Elena, Joan has actually asked for that previously, and Hope and Deb said they have records of patrons, books checked out, stuff like that. It's just, I guess nothing's been compiled because the board hasn't seen any of that. Hope says it's available.
Where can I
Yeah,
find
I
that
mean, we do annual reports with those numbers. Give me a few days and I could put everything together and send it to the board. Every month in our meetings now, we've put the patron count, for instance. Last month, we had just over 200 people. This month, we almost had December, we almost had 1,000. So it's not like, nobody's coming through the door. They're coming and, give me a few days and I'll put that together.
I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you, Hope.
Thank you. So that's something that once we see those numbers, we can talk about next week.
Thank you.
Okay, so the next thing on the list after that step is custodian. Can you please explain to me why there's a 901-119 custodian, and further down there is a, where is it? 2590 custodial services.
Yes, so a few years ago, there was a custodial line that was being used. Actually, when me and Deb came in, there wasn't a custodian. We had got one through the grant. Things did not go great with that company. After that, we had trouble getting a company. So we actually have an employee doing the custodial work. That's why it went to the payroll last year when we did the budget and took the money away from that custodial service line. And now even Joan called today of whether we want to take away the money from the custodial line on the payroll and put it in the custodial services or keep someone. That's why we put there, like, to hire a company is going to be a lot more money than what we're paying now to clean the building. So that's why we've kind of put discussion on what we want to do going forward, because right now we do have it coming out of payroll, separate from the employees' hours.
Okay, my bigger concern, I mean, that's a lot of money, $120 an hour at 10 hours a week. That's an awful lot of money, but the last custodial service you hired, they came in and what, cleaned twice, and then you never heard from them again, even though you had prepaid them?
Yeah, exactly. That it was a horrible situation. And so we're kind of nervous to move forward with a whole service that's going to cost us, 10 times the amount when we have someone who's doing a really great job, but that doesn't mean that that's going to be permanent. So, it's really there. Do we hire out the service and get rid of that line and just do it through the service, or keep what we have going?
I have a question.
Yes, Rebecca.
So last year when we did the budget, we decided to go away from the custodial service and actually hire someone, a custodian. Whatever happened to that? As far as I know, no job listing was posted. What happened after we decided that?
We do have had some people that submitted an application for the custodian, and we've talked to them. We're still working on that. But as for the service, the one specifically that the town uses was out of our price range. So that's when we did make the decision to go to one of the employees who's been doing the cleaning.
We did all the
Okay.
cleaning.
Oh,
Elena?
yeah, we did do the
Oh.
cleaning before that.
What, sorry, 1 second, Elena, what'd you say, Hope?
Oh, I said before that, before anyone was being paid during the COVID times, it was the staff who was picking up the cleaning.
Elena?
Well, as far as I know, for years, we used to have one person who would come 3 times a week and did the cleaning. And we paid them $20 an hour, something like $21 an hour. So it cost us per year $9,000. But we had one person from our town who was very responsible. The job was done well, and there was no company rushing. It was an official employee of our library. This is my number one point. I think we just need to hire one person. Again, for $20 an hour, we will find the person, because that's still good money, and forget about hiring companies. That's my suggestion. And also my question to Hope and Debbie, how come if we talk about it last year and you are still working on it, it has been a year and we're still working on hiring somebody for the cleaning? That's something where my question is. I think if we decide it had to be done right away.
Well, we did decide, and you're talking about an actual employee, which is what we have now. She wanted the job, but come June, she no longer wants the position. So we do have that employee in place that's doing that cleaning.
But that employee is also in another position, right? She's also a part-time clerk.
True, but she's also coming in earlier, staying later. It's not like,
Yeah, no, I'm not arguing hours.
oh, I'm sorry.
You didn't hire someone external.
No.
You simply took somebody that was already working 10 or 15 hours a week and gave them those extra 10 hours a week
Yes,
as custodian.
yes.
But if she's not going to do it after June, then we're seriously going to have to, as Elena said, find somebody that will come in 10 hours a week, 3 days a week, 3 hours, 2 days, and then 4 hours, say on a Saturday, 1 day a week, you put in more hours. That's going to,
Can you share with them that we've always had a custodian, actually, the hours and not 10, we cut it down to 10 to save money, because we didn't want to have the board and the budget to take more money out to someone. Time. And 1%
Maybe Debbie can dial in the meeting. She doesn't have to sign in with video. Maybe she can just dial in so we could all hear her. There
Yeah,
wouldn't be.
otherwise, I hope you're going to have to translate
Yeah.
everything she said.
That's not productive, time productive. Can you ask your Hope? Can you ask you just to dial in, please?
They're asking you to dial in for the video call. She doesn't know how to do that.
Or just, it's just she dials any number there on the agenda for
Yeah,
the
she
phone.
just goes to the agenda, dials the number that's there, and then it will ask her for the meeting number, which is on the agenda, and the pass code, which is on the agenda.
Okay,
Right, something like that, no problem.
all right. Well, I'm gonna mute for a minute and try to help her get on that.
Thank you. Karen, while they're trying to do it, can you continue to do sharing of the screen so we could see the numbers, if you could please, if it's
Yes,
possible?
sorry, Elena, I took it down so I could
Yeah, help her.
share
Yeah.
the agenda to show the number for calling in on, but since Hope says she's helping her, just give me 1 second. I'm trying to get the screen back up.
Thank you.
The problem is right now, I'm not sure where I am.
Oh, it's okay.
Like,
Take
Too
your
too
time.
many tabs open.
Thank you.
Okay. So like I said, discussion next week, but it sounds like seriously, something's gonna have to go out to hire both a programmer, if it's not Steve, and a custodian in town.
Why do we need programmer? I just want to like simple explanation, if it's possible, on the job they do, and which, why nobody does it now? Why do we need
No,
some?
Elena, don't you remember? Deb did it and then wanted all that overtime money for having done it when we should have hired somebody to do it.
Ah, okay. That was, okay.
Yeah. The big programming thing, the huge programming thing is the summer program.
Okay.
We did end up paying Deb quite a bit. We should have somebody who focuses just on that.
I agree.
Now, I don't know what's going on with health insurance. No idea what's going on with health insurance. But previously, when Clee was around, that was like $12,000. We really need to get more information as to whether or not, if Deb comes in, has she applied for it? Do we have paperwork on it? Because that's a lot of money. Okay, unemployment is staying the same, sick leave escrow. We put a small amount in last year. I don't know if we want to keep it a small amount. I have no idea. Rebecca, do you know what's in this sick leave escrow account right now?
Sorry, I've got a little one here, but
That's fine.
I do have all those numbers. Hope just sent them to me, but I'll have to pull up a screen. So give me a minute and continue, and I'll send it out.
Okay. The 860 number that just came in, is that you, Deb?
It is.
Great. Glad to
Thank-
see you. Okay, so that's something that we can discuss again last week. The legal and professional fees, $1,000 was simply put in the account just in case we needed the lawyer. It doesn't cover, I think that covers what, 4 hours of his time, something like that. But in the past year, I'm not sure we had the lawyer at all.
Right,
We
and
did use it. We did use it at some point, but he gave us his services for free, but we can't count on it.
Okay. Rebecca, what were you gonna say?
sorry, I had a question about, well, this may be a very stupid question, but for these line items that we didn't spend out, for example, the legal fees, can't we just roll over that line item into this new budget? So take that same amount of money, put it into that same line item this year, instead of having it just go into our main fund, and then we wouldn't have to, just like anybody else, like a family rolling over a number in their budget. Why can't we do that with the library budget?
We could. If there's money at the end of the year on any of these, we could roll it over. Right now, all it does is go into a slush fund at the end of the year that we haven't spent. But to do that, we really have to have a reckoning of what will be extra at the end of the year.
Right, but if we can, well, I guess we don't know if we're gonna spend it out in the next 6 months, but it seems likely, I feel like we shouldn't have to ask for more money for that line item if we could just roll over this year's into next.
And I can't disagree with you on that. The problem is that we do the budget 6 months before the end of the fiscal year. And so we don't necessarily know what we have. But that's something, again, we can look at those numbers. I know Rebecca's been having trouble getting all the information from the town. Maybe by next week, she'll have some of that last month's information and we can look at it. But yeah, I can't disagree. If we haven't spent $1,000 for the lawyer, why can't we just use that same $1,000? Makes sense to me. But like I said, suppose we then discover that we have to hire the lawyer in May and then we don't have that 1,000. So something we're going to have to look closely at. Okay, office supplies have gone up quite a bit, but a big part of that is a new printer needs to be purchased. And it looks to me like office supplies have been hit very badly by inflation.
Can I say something with that?
Yeah.
Okay, if you notice for the 21-22 year, it was 5,000. We actually cut it to almost half, a little bit more than half. We made it. Doing that and knowing that though, that we have spent quite a bit of money above what we had cut it down to, where it's a half of a year left and we only have $700 left. So that I'm pretty sure is going to end up being spent. Hopefully we won't go over that, but if not, again, fund balance money is sitting there. There's nothing really we can do about that. But keeping in mind that we do have the printer for the patrons that they use with their computers. It is 16 years old. It is having issues. We've tried to get a couple people out there to fix it, and they won't work on things that are not theirs. That is our own computer that we bought outright and we own. So
I've got absolutely nothing against the idea of buying a new printer. I have nothing against that.
No, that's good because there's nothing.
If it's needed, it's needed.
Well, that's what when you said that it's gone up substantially. I just wanted to point out that we actually cut it to a little more than half, and realizing that we needed more than what we had cut it for from the 21-22 budget from this year. So we are upping it a little bit, plus adding the new patient printer for out front.
Does anybody remember why we cut it down so much? Was there leftover in that budget last year?
We actually stockpiled. The year before, we had money left over, where at the end of the year, we had purchased things like computer paper, which is very expensive. So we actually did some stockpiling, which helped us with being able to cut down.
Plus, we did need to at the end with the Board of Finance and take away money. So that's kind of where we pulled some of it from.
Okay. Okay, professional development. Why is there no money in the professional development budget again?
Well, that's
It's
what we
Karen.
wanted
Oh,
to.
I'm sorry. We put a question mark because we're still trying to figure that out. And we had asked another librarian, we were waiting for her to get back. So we're still working on that number.
Okay,
Karen,
so it's not going to be zero. There is
No,
gonna
no,
be
no.
something else.
No,
Yes,
matter
Joan.
of fact, that it's going to be
sorry,
at least
Deb.
1,000 at this point. You know
Okay.
that. Have to see how much more than that. What you know.
Joan?
I wanted to go back to that office supplies. I've been trying to get in. Are they sure that 4,000 will cover the cost of a new printer without squeezing out other things? It just looks low to me to be buying something like that. But
It's
We're
definitely,
waiting to hear. We're waiting to hear from the company that we do business with right now with the computer. Well, it's not just a printer, it's a fax machine, it's also a scanner. From the company that has our other printer in the back office. We're looking to them for pricing. Unfortunately, they did not get back to us yet. We tried getting a hold of them today. So what Hope had done was we ended up looking for something similar to what we have existing right now and did pricing on that. And that can run us up to $1,200. So this is a little bit of a guesstimate. We were hoping to hear back from them with some kind of confirmation. So that is something that's a little up in the air still. But maybe we're hoping by definitely our next meeting that, you know, we'll have some
Okay.
concrete for you.
Okay,
Another
Go
thing
ahead,
is with the company, so right now, as Deb was saying, we own the printer in the front. So when we get this new printer, it's gonna be from Prism, so they're gonna be able to service that that printer as well. So now our ink for that printer is gonna go from like a couple $100 down to $10. So it's a big difference.
So are you looking for
Well,
Jeff printer or are you looking for an all-in-one printer, scanner, fax?
No,
Just
this
the,
is just something for the
Just the printer.
patrons.
yeah,
They don't need exactly.
Okay.
yeah.
This is up to $1,200, then Joan is absolutely right. If you have already spent $2,000 with only 6 months left, and that was with a stockpile of office supplies left over from last year, $4,000 isn't going to cover office supplies and a printer.
Okay.
That's what we were gonna find out when we got the exact price for that.
Okay.
It could change.
So staff hardware, staff software, bank fees, payroll processing fees, landscaping have all remained exactly the same.
Yes.
Nothing has changed here. Trash removal. We had not had trash removal for the last 2 years. People said that they could just put things in their truck and take it. And the town was very upset about that and said we really should have a trash company. So that has to go back in on a line item. The town was upset at the idea that we were making employees haul garbage. They said that wasn't,
Again, it's not the town's business what we do, but that, you know, that was something to save money and we did.
but there's absolutely no reason to not put garbage back in. That's perfectly fine. Okay, now, this next one.
Can I
HVAC.
ask a quick question? I'm sorry
Oh,
about the trash removal.
No, sorry, Elena, you are no longer on my screen.
It's okay, no problem. No problem. Do not even worry about it. So, as I understand, for the last 2 years, there was zero we did not put anything for the trash removal. What about before? I think before we used to put $1,000. Why is it
Yes,
now?
it went up 100%.
Okay, but we're gonna use as at 2,000, we're gonna means we're gonna use the same company. Who's gonna do it? Is it a private company which we are hiring ourselves, or this is connected to the town?
It has nothing to do with town, although the town does have the same company. We had the same company for always. For the last 6 years, it was Willimantic Waste. The town uses Willimantic Waste. We're not connected with the town at all as far as that's concerned. It's just that they have now switched over to a new company, Casella. It's still the same, it's got a different name and different people that own it, and it just went up double.
Okay, and then my other question, and why town tells us what needs to be done? That's what I don't understand. We're kind of not supposed to, we're not connected to them. Really.
Well, we're connected to them when they feel like we should be connected and not connected when they feel we shouldn't. The comment from the town that I got back from the Board of Selectmen was, you cannot say that by not hiring a trash removal company and by hauling things to the transfer station, it's saving money, because it's not. Everything that we take to the transfer station costs the town money to then dispose of. So it may save us money, but overall it's not saving the town money. And
Okay, so they said it was a right that they would kind of, they pay for it. Okay.
Yeah.
I understand it. Otherwise, they really shouldn't say anything, but that's a legitimate, so I understand this reason.
yeah.
Okay.
Okay, building maintenance. This one has gone way up. but that is because the HVAC system on the roof needs to be worked on. And Action Air said it was repairs. The ARPA committee said it was maintenance. And the ARPA committee will not cover maintenance. So we have to get that stuff done. There's no way around it.
So,
Yes, Elena.
yeah, I'm sorry. So as I understand, it's important for the budget to put the things in the budget which we will be spending on a regular basis. This is
Correct.
kind of one-time thing. So maybe the additional spending which we want with what in additional spending for this particular project, maybe we can take it from the money which we have already, because it's really how often we're going to do it, once every 15 years, 10 years. So can they tell me how often do we have to do it?
Yearly. Can I say something with that? That
Yeah.
is, that's not, that is what's going to end up costing us moving forward from now on. Those are not one-time fees. That's something where we now will have contracts that will take care of maintenance, preventative maintenance, but it does not even cost us service fees when something breaks or needs repair outside of regular maintenance. So that is something that could change, but
Okay.
and that never know that those are going to be unforeseen, unexpected, but could happen. Better be prepared and have the money on that line item. Otherwise, where is it going to come from? The town wants us to do this, so we're doing our due diligence. This is something that CIP has recommended, something that ARPA has recommended, that the money be there, and this is what we're doing. Now, mind you, the building's 16 years old. For all these years, even though towards the end, money probably should have been put on that so that we could have taken care of things, and we didn't. So the fact that we've never had a much, if anything, I think the first 7 years we didn't even have a maintenance line item with anything or nothing much in it. Now we're going to be paying for it literally. But what you're seeing there, the 20,000, that's not something that's going to go down next year. That's yearly now maintenance, whether it's going to be for the HVAC system. We have air purifiers, which we had gotten through grant money. It cost us nothing to get them for the first year. The people were very kind, did not have to, but to help us out, gave us all of our filters and everything for free. These are not cheap. This is not cheap equipment, and to maintain it is not going to be cheap. Well, this year is number 3. We've spoken to them, and there are cells that need to be replaced every 2 years, and the filters need to be replaced every year. So you're looking at something that it's not going to go down. This is something that for us to do our regular maintenance, whatever, is what that's going to cost. Keep in mind, we did fluff it a little bit with knowing that if something were to happen and material would be needed and labor to come out for a service call, that's an addition. But we did, like I say, even that is included in this 20,000, because it, like I say, it could happen and it will happen. So, but the majority of that is going to be preventative maintenance and on a yearly basis.
So
Well,
you're saying that this 14,500 that you've added for this HVAC is not going to fix enough things that we can cut that down next year to a lower amount, that we're going to have to keep the total at 20,000?
Yep.
Well, my question is, if it is 20,000, what's included? If whatever you name there included, like Action Air, preventive maintenance service, air purifiers, that's 14,000, everything. 14,500. Why is it 20,100?
That's just the big stuff. We have things you have to keep in mind, like what wasn't covered, what we were told by the ARPA commission when they didn't approve our smaller things. That's going to include maintenance for the door down, the 2 doors downstairs and the unfinished part of the basement has to be taken care of. Okay, what else is there? There was quite a number of small item things that were excluded from the ARPA applications. So, and they're not big enough to go into the CIP. So that is what is in there. Some of that, in that respect, when we take care of it, would come out. And there are things like, I think one item was $1,000. I think the door downstairs, I'm not sure what that was. I think it was maybe $1,000 or $1,200. So in that respect, I should say in that respect that could come down quite a bit if we took care of it, and we plan on taking care of it once we get money on the budget. Things that, like I said, weren't covered by ARPA or won't be covered by CIP.
Well,
That
some
we
of the
need to
things-
the
of the-
library.
Some of the things that are not covered by ARPA and won't be covered by CIP shouldn't be on a yearly budget. Those are
Yes.
just
That's
things,
what they told us to do.
Can we have to,
That's what they told us to do,
after
Karen.
all of the abuse we took
okay,
about this, we have to catch up with the maintenance and repairs. Now, some of this, I think, falls under repairs and not maintenance. But the town disagrees with that. So I think we do have to get some of these done. If we want to do all of them this year is one thing, or do we want to wait till next year for some of them, the smaller things? I think like that back door in the basement is pretty important. We're losing a lot of heat through that. Okay, that kind of thing. So we can decide that. The other point is, in this building maintenance should be prorated the elevator. Okay, it doesn't come every year, but it should be prorated that you are paying part of that, which will be rolled over to the next year. And what about the furnace? And what about the pumps? Is there any inspection on that, any water filters or anything like that on the pumps and on the furnace? I don't know. But
That's pretty much when it comes to water with the Banner Company, whatever. They also come out. Matter of fact, Hope, are you there? I'm just
Yeah.
thinking, did we put in the plumber, and now they're going to be coming out at three. Oh gosh, what was that? I know one thing for maintenance was going to be 300. Did we add that? I don't even know now if we added them.
No, we didn't add the plumber, but this 20,000 includes, like Joan said, it includes our elevator, it includes our water testing, it includes our pellets for the water, it includes our annual fire inspection. I just put things that
Yeah.
were above and beyond, not what we already. But I can give you
Right.
that list of what falls
well,
on.
everything,
I have no problem with all of that stuff. That should be in building maintenance. What I'm concerned about are things like the one-time fix the basement door. That's not a maintenance contract. That's not something that comes up year after year.
Then it won't show up for next budget, is what that would be about then.
No, can we ask, I'm sorry for interrupting, Karen, I'm sorry.
Okay, no, it's fine.
Yeah, can we just ask for the next meeting, before the next meeting, to provide us a full list of what the 20,100 includes? I would
Yeah,
appreciate that.
okay.
Okay.
And
Yes.
is there a line item we can go for capital improvements? That would be the door.
That would be the door and some of the other stuff.
Yeah, some of the ARPA things, okay? So we can put in a line item for capital improvements.
And I
There
think
has to,
I think that's a better plan than putting that stuff under building maintenance. I like that better, Joan.
yeah, we'll separate what's maintenance and what's capital improvement. And there's got to be a line item for in the town budget for that.
Yeah, but I wasn't calling that stuff a repair or improvement. That's not an improvement. That's more much, they're going to say that that's something that we didn't maintain, which is why it got to be the mess that it is. I just remember what they had said and shared with us as far as why they weren't covering. And that's something that, they did label as far as, our fault because we didn't take care of it. It's a maintenance issue. So if you put it, it's not a repair, it's not an improvement. I mean, it would be an improvement. Doing it would be the improvement, but I'm not so sure that's going to fly.
Well,
I still
even-
think
Sorry.
it's a better thing than putting one-time things under building maintenance.
Yeah, I agree too. It would break it up a lot better because there's already a lot under that, line item.
Yeah, because there are yearly contracts that you have for all of this other stuff that has to be under building maintenance. I would like to see, even if we don't call it capital improvements, call it something, but separate some of those things like the door and some of the other things that have to be done, but are not yearly repeatable things.
Are you
Well, it-
thinking, Karen, that it would be like when you say one time, for example, like the door, so once you pay for it, it's gone and doesn't show up again? Like, are you thinking separating like ongoing versus one time?
Yes,
Okay,
There might be a
Okay.
line item for building repair.
yeah, we
something
can figure out what to call it
Yeah.
at some point, but I do like the idea of separating the ongoing, the repeating ones versus the one-shot things.
yeah, that sounds like a good plan. I think I would have called it, okay.
Okay, telephone has not changed, internet has not changed. The, propane has not changed, the electricity has not changed.
Can
But
I
what's
have a
going-
question? I'm sorry.
Yes, Elena,
Yes, so between internet and security, there is a custodial services. I do not understand, is it different from the custodian, which we already discussed? That's additional?
no, that's what we were talking about before, Elena. We have to choose that one or the other one. We can't have
Oh,
both.
okay, got it.
So we
Thank you.
just have to decide if we're gonna go with hiring a custodian, we get rid of this custodial services.
Okay, good, thank you.
Great.
One
One or the other.
or the other, yes.
Okay,
I'm
thank
a little concerned. We have Eversource for electric, don't we? Don't you?
Yes,
The
We do.
Eversource's increase?
well, you know, we were talking about that. The thing is the increase would be, it's what's unpredictable with that is not so much the increase in the money for the actual electricity, it's the delivery charges that they're throwing at us, and that's what's unstable, and it changes month to month. We're not so sure what to do about that. Sometimes it's lower than others, but they're always high. But what was I thinking on that? I'm trying to think of the right words we used when we were talking about that.
Because the last couple of years, we've been a couple thousand off where we did not use it all. I think it was 3, maybe 3.5. So our thinking was if this, I mean, we could add a couple thousand, that wouldn't hurt us, but if it's going up that much, then maybe we should.
Yeah,
Yeah, because we
Um,
hadn't used all of it. There was some left over, so I think we were thinking that we were going to just leave it and then it would absorb the difference that we didn't use last year. But knowing it's expensive.
okay, Joy, you just flashed. Did you need to say something?
No, I didn't mean to flash. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay, just checking.
Okay.
Okay.
Let-
Yes, Elena.
Can I say something too? Like when it came even to the propane, I know we're on the electricity, but when it came to the propane, last year we were only paying $1.18 a gallon. Now we're paying $2 a gallon.
Okay,
And
so,
so when it comes to electricity, I'm sure that's going to be going up too. But again, there was that buffer that for whatever reason, it wasn't as expensive as we thought it would be. And we're going with that, if we left it the same as last year, we would
Okay.
just absorb what we didn't use last year on this year. But
Okay.
it probably would be smart to put
I
up.
didn't understand that.
okay, hold on 1 second.
Yeah.
Elena, you had something, you had your hand up?
About electricity, I wanted just to throw it out there. Maybe we can consider, maybe we can consider getting the solar panels. If we will get the solar panels, the way they work, I don't know who have enough information. I just talk at some point with the company. It will cost us literally nothing. And the bill which we are paying now for electricity will be frozen. It's not going to increase for the next 25 years. So our monthly payment will be we will not pay to Eversource. We would pay to that company solar panels company in the amount which we pay now, not more. So the Eversource can double, triple, our price is gonna be stuck on that. Maybe we can consider. I'm just wanted to throw it there.
Yeah, we looked into residential solar panels, and it means you're less tied to an electric company, but you do have a monthly, they called it a mortgage when we talked to them, that has to be paid, and they wanted a 30-year mortgage.
Yeah, but the amount you pay, you show them your electrical bill, and that amount will not be higher than your electrical bill now, not in the future. In that way, so for example, 2 years down the road, the price doubled, we still would be paying that mortgage. It would be in the amount we pay for the electricity today, if we install it today.
Well,
So
we
that's-
would have
sorry.
to seriously look into the cost of installing solar panels to do that, because that's a big building. I'm not sure how expensive that would be. Who was saying something? Joan, you had something?
Yeah, we're moving like fast and backtracking here a little bit.
Yeah,
With
we are
the-
moving fast, Joan, because
okay, with
all
the
I want to
solar-
do is get an overview, know what we need to know by next week, so we can go into details of next week. So yes,
Okay.
we are going fast. I admit that.
With the solar panels, it would take a while to do the research and get, you could get Sunrad out here probably in 2 weeks and stuff, but it still wouldn't be in probably before summer. You do have to be connected to an electric grid. And you do sell your extra electricity to the grid. So that helps defray some of the costs. But if, you can't rely 100% on the solar. The propane, I think we're making a big mistake to keep it the amount as last year or this current year, because the propane and the gasoline are so volatile that I just don't see them not going up over the year.
Okay, do you know, Hope or Deb, what the total amount you paid last year for propane was? Was it the full 6,000 or was it less than that?
It was less, but exactly how much less, let me see. While I'm looking, I just want to address as far as the solar panels. If I'm not mistaken, I don't think I am, but I don't know all the particulars. We did look into that at one time. Matter of fact, I think a company approached the town and they came and looked at different buildings. And I don't know what ever happened because nothing obviously was done. And I don't know if it was something that we wouldn't have saved money or if it was too expensive. But and I don't know who in the town who we could even contact to find that out. But there was a time, all that many years ago, that we did entertain that idea. I don't know how far it had gotten, and I think somebody did come out to the library and talk to one of the directors. I want to say, I think it was Clee Roseborough that they might have spoken to about that. But the town, I'm pretty sure the town was involved because I think they were promoting it with this company as far as checking to see if people could use it or not and what kind of cost that would be. So some of that homework that you're thinking we have to look into may have already gotten done.
I think it was a discount that the towns did it, and most of the towns in the area did pick up on it. And there's a lot of solar out there now because of it. I don't know what happened in Wellington, but
it's on Wellington, you know?
it's like, what?
If last year you were paying $1.18 for propane and this year it's up to $2, unless your propane bill last year was $3,500, $6,000 is not going to cover it.
Rebecca just texted us,
Yeah,
just send us the information, how much we paid. We paid 4,000 something.
Yeah, 4,216.
Yes.
So yeah,
So we had an extra, even if it
Four
doubled.
thousand two sixteen, is that what you
Ye-
said?
yep, we had 1784 extra. So how high should we put it?
Okay, 7150.
Okay,
That covers an increase in cost from $1.18 to $2.
okay.
Uh,
Can I
so
say something?
Yes, Joy.
50 total.
I still need to talk with David about getting you a quote for propane. We did get the, okay from the town to distribute. So I can have David give you a quote on that if you'd like.
Okay, that would be great, except then we have to go back to the town because Erica informed, this is where it comes down to, are we a town building or not? Erica informed
Oh.
me that the library was a town building, therefore the library had to get propane from the same distributor that the town offices got it from and the schools got it from. You know, when
Okay.
it comes to things we need like repairs, we're not a town building. So that is something we could look into, but we would have to clear with the Board of Selectmen. Because
Okay.
I was told flat out at the ARPA meeting, just prior to the ARPA meeting, Monday night. Because Erica said that she saw our agenda and it said propane was on the agenda. And she said, you can't do propane. You have to do propane from our distributor. Blah, 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 blah. So yeah, I got an earful Monday night before the ARPA meeting. So
But we talked too about that recently, and I'm not done with that. So there's some stuff too, I think we need to look into because I could disagree on some of what was said, but I won't go into that right now, but
okay,
I know
so
what you're
let's
saying. There's also no
let's
other-
definitely up the propane. We'd have to look at the electricity costs, what you actually spent last year and what we need for a buffer from that. So whenever Rebecca can get us that as well. Miscellaneous is staying the same from last year. Resources is staying the same. Books are staying the same. Newspapers are staying the same. PDs are staying the same. Hardware is staying the same. Patron software is going up, but that's because through one of those programs, the library got hotspots for checking out like a book, but that is something that's going to have to be renewed every year, right? Right, Hope?
Yeah, we got the
Okay.
hotspots through a grant and the patrons are all over them, both local and non-local. So we have to keep that up.
Okay. And outside library resources, that's all the state stuff you have to pay and everything, right?
Correct.
Correct.
So those are set fees. So my concerns here are the energy, electricity and propane.
I have the electricity total we spent.
Okay,
It was 13,739 and 77 cents.
13,000 what and 39?
739 and 77 cents.
Okay.
And that's why we weren't raising up those two things much, because we did have some kind of buffer. Even though it is going up in pricing, everything.
So you can afford a 1.2 increase and keep it at 16,000. I don't know. Not all of the bill from Eversource is going up, but one section of the bill is literally being doubled.
Oh, yeah, that's the delivery, yeah.
Yeah, so we need to know how much out of we need to see an old electric bill and see how much of what you're paying is delivery and how much is the actual electricity. Because
Yeah, but how do we,
if the delivery is basically more than 10% of the bill or something, you're gonna need more than 16,000.
Oh yeah, it is. I know that for sure. And I can scan you one that we just received because it did go up substantially.
Okay, so let's take a look at that. Let's talk about splitting building maintenance into building maintenance and building whatever. Whatever we want to call that one. Then we need more insurance on there's more information on this insurance stuff and how much we should put in there to discuss whether or not a second page needs to be
What-
hired. So basically tonight, it was just bring up what we need to go into depth on. And then go into depth. So this is what I've got. And this is without health insurance. And it didn't have the professional development in it. What health insurance comes out to is going to make a huge difference. Because right now we're asking for a 19% increase. Last year they gave us roughly a 21% increase, but they did cut down what we had asked for. We'd asked for like, I don't know, 23 something. 230, I mean. If the health insurance is an additional 12,000 or something, then we've got an increase of 24%. But then if we increase propane and electricity and all of that, we can justify a lot of the increases simply through inflation.
That's a
Um,
lot of stuff for keeping sane.
Yeah. Trash removal, the town's saying we need to do it, so that's something that we need to do. Like I said, let's take a better look at building and maintenance, but that's a huge increase. Security, that's a one-time deal. That's another thing that can go into just a one-time cost of the 2,000. The cameras have been purchased, they just need to be installed. So that's another one-time thing that needs to be done. So that could get pulled out of security and put into whatever we call this category of improvement projects. And the hotspot, since everybody loves them, is just something that we're going, it's only 0.5% towards the increase. So we need to get some more information. And yes, Elena.
I'm sorry, probably missed it. Do not really remember. I'm not in Wellington, so I don't have the documents with me. So did we budget last year for the programmer position? So do we have it in the current budget? So if
Yeah.
we budgeted and we did not use it fully, then we probably will have leftovers that particular amount. Are we going to have leftover?
We budgeted 9,000 last year. How much did we pay Deb?
A little over 3,000,
Okay, so there is money left over.
under 4, yeah.
So the money should be left over, okay. And we
I'm sorry,
budget,
I'm looking for it. Oh, there it is.
if we hire it, it's gonna be a little more, it's gonna be like 13,000, I think. Is it?
Yeah, this is down for 14,256
Why is it such an increase, 5,000?
because it's
Kind of
actually
a confused.
hiring somebody to do 15 hours a week. I don't know if we need a programmer 15 hours a week or if we could cut that down to 10, or it
Yeah.
could be cut down to
Oh,
10. Rebecca,
no.
Rebecca,
Yes, I mean, this speaks directly to my point. Can we ask for less for the funding if we roll over what is left over to that line item? Then we don't have to ask for all that money. We can ask for that money minus the $6,000 we have left over.
right. The only issue with that is, first of all, we'd have to figure out how to do it. But second of all, if we roll over $5,000 here, so we say we only need $9,000, and then next year we come back and say we need 14,000, we have to be able to justify that.
We can roll over and use it for one-time projects. We can use rollover money for one time, but not for the regular budgeted things. We need to place them correctly into the budget, so they are there. I would suggest to consider 10 hours for the programmer, not 15 hours.
No, no, please do not do that. As it is right now, that 15 is not enough. What, doing the programming job, that was a 39-hour a week job.
But
That
it was
program
not
will-
Deb, it was not a
No,
39 hour
that-
a week job for 52 weeks.
Yeah, that's what it was.
You're telling us you put in 39 hours extra above your 35 every week
No,
for
no.
52 weeks?
No, the programming job was getting 39 hours a week. It was more than what even the director or any director had ever gotten as far as hours.
Okay, Deb,
The reason why it got cut
Okay,
down to
Deb.
15
Deb, all I want to know is how many total hours did you put in that we paid you for?
Oh,
What
no,
was-
what are we talking as far as what you just gave me as far as doing the summer reading program? Or are we talking, I'm talking about something different. Elena wants to cut down the hours from 15 to 10. And what I'm saying is that was at 15, it's half of what it's supposed to be. That is one of the higher hourly jobs that library, and the most
Okay,
important.
But Deb, when you were programmer,
Yes,
there was only one director. Can
Yes.
some of the things you did as programmer be picked up by you and Hope? Does the programmer need to be a full-time position?
yes,
You can't afford a full-time position. We just can't.
you did once upon a time, but then again, it was only at minimum wage.
Well, we did once
But
upon a time because we only had one director. We're now paying for two directors.
We're not talking about money. We're talking about the importance of the job is where I'm going as far as hourly goes.
Okay, I get that, Deb, but you just said, I said we can't afford a full-time programmer, and you said, but that's what we used to have. But we used to have had one
As far-
director.
As far as affording, I know, I'm going with what you're saying as far as the price. But also, it was always a minimum wage job, which it never should have been because all of us were getting paid minimum wage. But I'm saying going forward, that job cannot be done, should not be done for less than 30 hours a week.
We
cut
can't
it
afford
down-
that, Deb. We cannot afford a full-time program, period. We can't.
Well, the programs what keeps the library going, because if you don't have a programmer doing programming, people aren't going to come in.
Then
I
we
agree.
need to have, if we're gonna have a programmer full-time, we can't have two full-time co-directors. We just can't afford all of those full-time positions. Yeah. There's no way.
Exactly. We need to have,
Well,
we need, if
Was
we come,
ever one full-time position, and that was always just the director. And maybe it's time that we start having more full-time people to do the jobs that need to get done. The programming job is important. I'm just telling you.
Okay, but
you
Deb,
can't
you don't seem to
hire
get,
less than
okay,
15.
when you were a full-time programmer, directors, we're now paying for you and Hope. And so adding a full-time programmer is a third function. Has there ever been three, a director and a programmer?
No, what I'm saying is it was always, it would be you'd have a full-time director and a full-time programmer.
That's two full-time positions. If you want a full-time programmer with you and Hope as co-directors, that's three full-time positions. We cannot afford three full-time positions. We need to look
I know.
seriously at what is done
what
as
I'm
a
saying
programmer and whether or not somebody, I know you said you put in all those hours, Deb, but we need to know exactly what those hours consisted of and what was done, because I'm sorry, we cannot afford three full-time positions. If we want
The
a
thing is-
full-time programmer, we got to cut way back someplace else. Elena?
But what I'm saying, even if you don't have a full-time programmer, you cannot have it less than 15 hours. If you have full-time, if you're going to consider full-time, say 30 hours a week, with what we did cut it down to half the time that it would take. Now you want to cut it down to 10. I'm telling you, can't do
Okay,
that. Just
and
imagine.
okay, Deb, what I just asked was, can you give us an indication of when you were a full-time programmer, what you were doing in those 30 whatever hours they are? we need to see exactly what the programmer's job is. We don't have an idea
But
of this. If you can
Karen,
give us an idea of what the programmer is supposed to do.
when I was doing 39 hours, I was working 50 to 70 hours and not getting paid the difference. That
Okay,
was,
Deb,
that was,
that's beside the point. That's not what I want to hear. I want you to write me out exactly what you did for those hours every single week of the year. What were the programs that were done? How many hours were you putting in?
I am
I don't want you to
answer.
hours and put in 70. That's not what I want to hear.
That's-
We need to
if you
know
guys
exactly what the program's job consists of.
When there was a first programmer introduced to the library, it started off as a 15-hour job.
Deb,
You
that's
had
beside the point. Deb, all of that is beside the point. Before our
All right,
meeting
then
next Wednesday, please just write us up.
Say
Just Deb,
something.
it's beside past. What we need to know is what exactly does the programmer do? What takes up their 15 or 39 hours or whatever it is? For us to decide how many hours we need a programmer, we need exactly what the programmer does. We haven't had a programmer in a couple of
To
years.
me.
We don't have job descriptions properly, Deb. What we see is exactly what the programmer is supposed to do. Okay, can you do that?
No,
Okay, fine. Yes, Elena?
I would like just to, again, throw an idea there for consideration and for thinking. I think now, as I understand why we had four directors from the beginning. So everything was lost. People did not, Hope and Debbie did not really, it was new for them. They needed time to figure it out. It was easier to do two of them. So now my suggestion is, I think Hope is very well aware of what the director's job is now, what needs to be done. How about if we will leave Hope as the only director and Debbie will take a full position of the programmer. She did it for years. She did a greatest job. There's no complaints ever. And then everyone is on place. People and we don't put any additional money into this. I think maybe Hope can consider it, because every library has one director, greater library, bigger library. We can handle it, especially they were doing it together for 2 years. I'm sure they have enough experience, enough understanding, and the Hope is educated, experienced already. Maybe she can easily pull it out, and Debbie will do what she does excellently. That's in her heart. So she's a programmer, and Hope is a director.
Okay, that's not something to make a decision on now. That's something to think about. But
Yeah, but we can do it during the budget, because that's
right,
time.
yeah,
to
no,
discuss.
I'm not saying we wouldn't.
Yes, yes.
We can't make a decision on a programmer at 10 or 15 hours a week if we don't have a clue what the programmer is doing. And all we have is Deb saying she worked for 39 hours a week and actually put in 70. That doesn't tell us exactly what the job is. So right now we can't make a decision about programmer, period. Until we have an idea exactly what the programmer would be doing, we can't make a decision as to whether or not we have a program.
it is in the name and you do programs. If anybody has ever done and gone to the library to participate, they would know
Deb,
that.
I
it's-
understand the programmer does
Yes.
programs. I understand that. But what is entailed in doing a program? What's the work for a program? What's the job when the program is running? What's the post stuff for the program? I know what programmer means. But I mean, my job says professor, but I have a list of things that I am required to do as a professor. Every job has a title, but it also has a list of expected duties. And the programmer programs, but you know, that's great. how much effort is put into setting up a program? How much effort is put into advertising a program, doing the flyers? How much effort is put into running the program itself? These are the things we need to know. And you just said flat out, you can't do that for me. So at this point, we cannot make any decision on the programmer. It is tabled at this point. Okay?
Ouch.
Okay. Anybody else have anything they need to say?
No, I just would like to remind, as for the next meeting, so Hope and Deb would provide us the statistics, the data on the library use, town, like, how town uses the library.
So we need that. We need some information. Hope said she'd scan the electric bill. We need to up the propane to cover the increase in the cost of propane. We need to talk next week about whether or not a second page is important. And we need to get more information on this employee health insurance to get a rough idea as to what to put in there. We can't just put in a TBD when we submit the budget. So we need more information on the cost of that. So the point of this meeting today was to go over every one of these things and find out what more information we were going to need and what we needed to do with this. So there is more information that we are going to need before we can go any further than this. Everybody agree with that?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay. So there are some things that need to be put together. So I'm done with talking. So I don't have a present to speak in the agenda, but I can put it in if we would like a present to speak. Okay, I'm not hearing anything.
I think that would
So,
be a good idea if anyone wants to speak.
well, we have a visitor, so I didn't know if they wanted to talk. Yes, Nicholas?
Yep. Yeah, Nick Tella, 49 Myrtle. Sorry, I wasn't sure if that was an invitation to speak or not.
Oh, yes, it was, sorry.
Okay. Yeah, so just my comments from watching and such. So one reason I even attended was it was brought to my attention some stuff going on with the co-directors and then going for outside consultation, spending, I don't know, 5,000 or 10,000 on outside consultation. So that's what brought me to the meeting. So just some things that were talked about. I mean, when in regards to the garbage, I personally think if Erica wants to consider you guys a town building, which I know that, you know, there's talk that you guys aren't part of the town and back and forth on that. But if they want to play that card, then maybe Troy or somebody over at Public Works can take their vehicle down and pick up the trash and bring it at the transfer station. It's really not that much of a, you know, inconvenience for them. And I think it would save the town $2,000. So I think that's something that they should look into. I know mention of solar. I personally am hesitant on solar. You would also probably have an expense of somebody having to go up there and clean it 2 to 4 times a year. So you have to consider an additional cost when it comes to that stuff. I know a cleaning lady or gentleman, whoever it is, maybe stepping away in June or something. Maybe looking local. I think there's E.B. Smith in town that does cleaning. Maybe working with them to where it's somewhere $9,000 to $10,000, staying within what has been budgeted before. And you also support local business with them. Health insurance, I'm kind of hesitant on adding that additional cost, but that's up for you guys to talk about. I think if you guys go that way, hopefully it's only the director and potentially a programmer. I don't understand why there's 2 directors. It probably should be 1 director and maybe 1 programmer. Obviously, you got to know the description of what a programmer is, which seems like you guys are going to look into that a little bit more. I think that would be a better direction for that. That's all I have. Thank you.
Okay, I want to make a comment on what you had said. Health insurance had always been in the budget up until last year because it was always offered to the full-time director and the full-time director alone. We discussed it in the budget last year and we're told that it was okay. Hope and Deb didn't need it. But then Deb came back and said she would like it. And so it may have to go back into our budget because we are supposed to offer our director health insurance. So, so it was only out of the budget for 1 year. Prior to that, it's always been in the budget. But it is a huge expense.
Can we ask
yes,
Nicholas?
Elena?
Yeah, sorry. Can we ask Nicholas to give us in one more time the name of that cleaning company, which is locally, which is in Williston?
E.B. Smith is what I wrote down.
EB
Is that
Smith?
correct, Nicholas?
Correct, yes.
I've heard of them before. I don't know why or where, but I have heard of them.
They may be connected to Joe Shirelli or Joe Shirel.
Oh, okay. That's
yeah.
what I've heard about. Yes, that's exactly where I heard about it when I met Joe Shirel.
Yep.
Okay. Yep. That's exactly when I heard about it. I think he was wearing an E.B. Smith polo shirt.
Thank you.
Okay. Anything else?
I just have one question.
Yes, Rebecca.
If we, so in the past, when we just had one director, since this predates me, sorry.
Okay.
We did have an assistant director position then,
No.
correct?
No,
Oh,
there was
yeah,
a director and there was a programmer. Those were the two full-time jobs.
Okay, thank
there
you.
was an assistant director, but it wasn't full-time.
Okay. Yeah, I was just thinking a full-time job, Deb. Sorry.
Okay, but there was a part-time assistant director.
And
Yeah.
part-time, and that assistant director did mostly like internet related business. So as I understand, so that was particularly the direction.
Yeah, Rebecca, I think this predates everybody except Elena and Joy, because I came in like 3 months before Clee left. Elena and Joy are the only ones that have been on the board for any length of time, so they would know more about this than even I would. Joy, you're blinking again. You have
Yeah.
something to say?
Seems like I've been working forever. So,
Okay, anything else? Yes, Joan.
I think that we have to make it clear to Nick just why we have two directors. And that our history of directors has been spotty. And some that work and some that don't. And some that are using us as a stepping stone. And we're just part of their resume collection. So they stay a very short time and go on, and they really don't do much while they're here necessarily. But also that finding someone to be a full-time director who is attached to Wellington or to the local area enough that they will stay is a real issue. And it isn't easy. And so when somebody says to me, we need one director, I say, bring us your candidate. Because we haven't had good luck with finding some that are going to stay. So Deb and Hope said, well, what if we split the job? So we took the two jobs.
Can I just butt in a second, Joan? A lot of that splitting had to do with Deb had been at the library for a very long time and knew the basics of how the library ran. Hope had the degree and had come in as an intern, but had only been here, what, 5 months or so before Clee quit?
Yep.
About a little less, yeah.
Yeah. So it was the combination of needing the knowledge of the library plus the knowledge that Hope had from her education and her internship combined that basically gave us what we thought was the background of what we would have for one full-time director. So you can finish now, Joan.
Well, yeah, and the amount, everybody says we're paying more, but we really aren't. The amount that we're paying to the two of them is equivalent to what it would be with a full-time director and a full-time program director.
Oh, no, that's
so
not
there-
correct. I'm sorry, Joanne, I interrupt you, but it's not correct. We used to pay 41,000 or 45 to Clee when he was at 45 because he refused from the taxes or from the insurance. So we used to pay, including insurance, health insurance, 45,000 overall, around that number for one director. That was plus it was maximum amount, before that even less. So we really double the amount in our budget for 2 directors. So I just want to be correct.
Well,
Included
now
health
how many years have we been doing this co-director? Is this the
Just
This is our-
recently.
second year, right?
Yes,
So
just
the
recently.
first year of it, the amount has not changed. So
No.
that when we set it up, it was to be added together and then they split the total. I mean, that's the way it was set up. Now, the insurance is not included in that. Okay, so I don't think we're spending any more money according to the way we had set it up.
No,
So
we
maybe
doubled the
we have to
money.
go through
No.
that.
Elena, we actually didn't because we went through all of this when we did this.
Yep.
If Clea was
Did.
truly making 45, but it was, I believe Deb was making about 30. That comes up to 75. And the first year we paid them, it was 80 for the 2 of them. There was not a separate programmer at that point. So yes, it raised it a little bit, but not really anything outrageous over what we would have been asking.
So then
So-
it's a perfect opportunity for us to go back where we were, to have a director and to have a programmer.
You understand that to get a full-time director that has all of these qualifications, we would have to bump up that amount that we're paying, probably 15 to 20,000. Because these people, getting someone to come out to the small town and stay, you're going to have to pay a bonus. You're not going to be able to pay what you pay in some of the other surrounding towns. And we hear about, well, this one only has 1 director and stuff. And then I hear from other people in libraries that that's not always true and that there are issues with just 1 director. So it's not a panacea. So so at this point, could we look at it again? We had said that for this point in time, this is what's working. That doesn't mean it will always work. But if somebody has that candidate who lives locally and has all the degrees and wants the job, then we would have to look at it probably out of obligation to the town. But we are committed for the next year.
The state library board suggests 56,000 minimum.
Well, that
Okay,
doesn't matter what
so
they
we're
say.
gonna have to order 56,000. We'd have to go up to 62,000.
So
get
what I'm
somebody to-
saying, Elena, is if it is 56,000 minimum,
Yeah,
and we
Okay.
do have an issue with people coming from out of town and
I'm sorry,
No,
guys.
it's right. There has to be like some sort of incentive to get them to come to Wellington.
Well, let's take Ashford as an example. They have a wonderful director, driving every day
excuse
from
me,
Massachusetts.
Ashford is having a lot of trouble with that director.
Well,
Okay, that has not worked out very well at all. So
I don't know. Last time, I don't know which director they have. The one which I took, she was a wonderful lady. She was making them, doubling them in grants, the amount of budget money. I mean, she did a tremendous job, and she was paid 43 or 46,000 alone, one director. I'm just saying that we will never find somebody perfect. We don't have to look for the director. We have two. We can pick one to be director, another one to be a programmer. So obviously Hope is very well qualified from my point, because she has a 2 years experience of doing this particular job, while Debbie loves doing programming. So that's they adjusted, they put everything on the railings. I'm sure they can continue to do it, but in a different names.
oh, well, I think we have to review that quite a bit more.
And, you know, that's kind of up to them, like we need to hear their input on that.
Yeah.
That's something that we can just decide for them.
They may be cleaning out their desk right now saying, we're not working with these batty people anymore.
Okay, I have this library organization job page up. Director positions that are currently open. Bristol, Rhode Island, $50,000 a year. But the Brookfield Library, $95,000 a year. Librarian 2 at New Haven, 52,000, well, 51,648. I don't
Well-
see anything here that's under 50,000.
Well, we really have to compare by the size of the library, by the amount of the employers, not just on the position. So the
Right.
amount of the employers, we have 4 employers plus 2 directors, 6 people. Sorry, guys.
I mean, it's going to be hard to compare directly because I don't know how big. Okay, here we go. Here's one that's advertised for a town with a population of 6,000. That's about the same size as we are. They're offering 60 to 80 with health insurance, dental, life, and disability, and retirement. And that's for the same size town that we have.
Well, it depends on the business they have. Maybe that's a rich town, which has lots of businesses, lots of taxes. We are a rural, quiet corner. So there are many factors going into this. So not just one, just mention a couple, but
like I said, I don't see anything here that's under 50. Absolutely nothing here that I see under 50 on all of these pages that I see, and some of them are much higher. And yes, we are a small town. We don't have a whole lot of money. I agree with that. But as Joan said, what is the incentive for somebody outside of Wellington to come in? Unless it's somebody that just graduated and is simply looking for an experience, so then they can move on to one of these $90,000 a year jobs that they can now say, I've got a year experience or whatever. There's a lot that needs to be considered with this.
yeah, but well, we have one, so maybe we can ask Hope and Debbie just to think about it, just to consider it. I mean, Hope, I'm sure she is overqualified for our town. She knows all ins and outs already. Just received the degree, that's exactly perfect. So why do we have to go look for someone if we have someone already?
And what are you going to do about the programmer position?
So Debbie has always done the program position for 20-something years. And I witnessed her. I live here for over 20 years. She did an absolutely amazing job. Absolutely amazing job. She loves doing it. That's her heart. The way she works, it's really not really beneficial for her health, as I understand. So that's overwork. No, I mean, like, how many hours do you work? Like working 39 hours on top of your regular one? That wouldn't be beneficial for anyone's health. So I have no idea. That's my point was. That's draining for the body, for normal body.
Okay, but what are you thinking then, Elena, in terms, are you saying that if we demote her to programmer, we're going to cut her salary some?
I wouldn't. I think she worked enough years in our library to keep that salary. That's what I would think. She's honored. She put all her life on so many years, but I would divide those 2 positions. I would definitely do that. Of course, we have to talk to them. We can't just decide for them. but I really think, why would we have to invite somebody else when Hope really invested? She knows it all. Debbie knows it all. Why not just put everything in place and skip the programmer position?
Yes, Joan?
We're not going to solve this tonight.
No, I know we're
We're
not.
not going to solve it.
Yeah.
We had agreed at the last meeting that we were going to keep this system for the next fiscal year. Simply because we don't have time to meet that decision and then make the adjustments to the budget for it. that this budget has to be submitted too soon. So that gives us plenty of time to think this through. And, you know, we'll just commit to this for the next year. And that doesn't mean that Hope and Deb can't just say we've had enough and, you know, force us into something else later. But
Okay.
right
Hope-
now, we're
Hope, you
spinning
had your
on
hand
this,
raised.
Okay. I want to go
Yeah.
home.
I would say, besides talking with Deb, obviously, I won't say anything without her input, but for me personally, availability is a big thing for me. Right now, it's good because whenever there's emergency, like my husband has FMLA for our son, there are times when things happen that are out of our control. And personally, I don't want to let the library down by dedicating time that I might not have. So right now it works good because whenever I need time or Deb or vice versa, and I'm on such a set schedule, like I'd like to go in the afternoons, but when I get home, my husband goes to work. So I can't be there like I would like to be there for them. And I would just feel like, you know, I'd be letting the staff, the building down because I am under a lot more tightened restraints in that way with schedule, with various different things. And on top of that, every time my husband does take FMLA for these meetings or whatnot, we're losing big money, you know, and that is a factor because we are, you know, a little family trying to make it. So there are factors like that, you know, in there for me personally.
How many hours a week is the library open?
40, or was it Deb 40, 42?
All that information was known once upon a time. It's not in my head. We'd have to look that up. That question's been asked off, and we do have the answer, but I don't know it off the top of my head.
But it is more than the 35 hours that we expect a full-time person to work.
Yeah.
Well,
So
then-
direct,
you would not be expected to be there every hour that the library was open.
No, I know, but I can only work till 2:30, and then if I want to come for like a program or a meeting and it's last minute, there's just so many things like could I make it work? Sure, but even now it can get much at times. And talking too about the money thing, like that's a lot of money. Me doing salary versus $500 my husband loses to take an evening. I mean, he gets approved for it, but he doesn't get paid for it. So that's another thing we're personally struggling with. That's hard to manage. And here, you know, I have my son in the background, but sometimes that can be a lot too. And I'd like to give my full attention, which in that respect does help having
You see
two of
the
them.
smile on Rebecca's face.
Yeah, I mean, as just the head person, I mean, now like it's Deb and I, so if I'm gone for a second, she could fill in. But if it's just me, like I don't want to disappoint in that respect.
Okay, Elena, did you have something else to say?
yes, I just want to make a point that the directors, in accordance with our policies and job descriptions, the director's positions require 35 hours a week. That's how we budget. So it's not really salary. So we do pay 35 hours a week for 24 hours. So if you are there less, then in reality, you are paid more per hour than 24 hours a week.
Okay,
So
Elena, this is something that has come up the last couple of budgets. Director is supposed to be a salaried position. We have calculated the amount based on an hourly wage, but that is supposed to be a salaried position. If it's not a salaried position, we can't offer health insurance or any of the other things. This is supposed to be a salary position, and we just calculate the amount that we pay them based on this hourly wage.
oh, I understand it, but it still means that we expect the director to be there at least around 35 hours a week, at least around. So
Not
it's
the
still some,
35 hours, because I can always do the 35 hours by coming in and making it up. It's just like those important, like if a meeting comes out of nowhere and I can't attend, or wanting to be there at night, like Deb does all the nights. I don't do any nights, so I wouldn't be able to be involved in that way is what the 35 hours has never been a problem. It's just I'm only available till a certain time, and I don't want to do that to the whole group and not be able to go to programs at night, or if someone needs me and I have my son and let's say I don't have a car, which happened for a couple of weeks. I'm just trying to be realistic in that sense.
Well,
Can I
those
say
are all,
some-
yeah, sure, sorry.
You know, from the beginning, the town and the board and the library have been very fortunate to have two directors. It seems to be always quite the contention. Things would not run as nicely if there were not two. Just the fact, as far as what you're talking about, two people directing, you have, which has never happened before, directors do not work nights. They have never worked on a Saturday. They do not fill in for their employees. There's always been two people on at all times. As far as your employees are concerned, the directors were never considered part of that coverage because they just never were. That was kind of like a benefit, kind of like bank hours sort of a thing. They were also, back then, you didn't have Zoom meetings. When you needed to go to meetings, you went during your regular work hours. So you always had to make sure that your time, your hours were not covered or considered when coverage was needed as far as in the library, which has always been and will remain always two people in the building together at one time. Right now you have a director between Hope and myself there 24/7, which in itself has been a huge benefit because things happen all during the day, afternoon, morning, noon, and evening, and you have people that you're dealing with, vendors, problems, whatever that come up, that you have got someone with authority and knowledge and experience to cover. Where so you've got people who are loyal, dedicated. They're part of this town. They're invested. They have families that are growing up. They have families that have grown up where the library's been. Very important. So you know, and even when it comes to price, you're still, even though you think you're paying each one of us a lot of money, and you're putting the two together as far as one. Okay, so if Hope and I each make like 40,000, you're talking 80. You're thinking that you're spending twice the money, but in fact you're not. I would strongly suggest you go to the town and see what other people are getting for what their job responsibilities are and how much of a difference that there is. We've always been paid, all the employees, including the directors, lower than what anybody else in the state gets as far as library goes. We've talked about that many times. You guys have got to be aware of that. So there are a lot of, I think you tend to forget all the benefits of having two people, not to mention the workload. You had two directors prior that could not do all that was intended, where they ended up turning it over to the town, both payroll and doing accounts payable, because they couldn't. And there was no problem with the board and everybody at that time just giving it to town because they said they couldn't do it or wouldn't want to do it. You also had them that they weren't even there, like they would come and go. Well, okay, now that's getting into another thing. But what I'm trying to say is, you've got people who have been willing to do this work, a large workload, picking up pieces and solving problems for the last probably 5 years, trying to play catch up, taking care of things in the present that are going on, updating as far as with the technology, not to mention we're the first two people that have actually even addressed issues with the building. We get yelled at and whatever, why wasn't this done and you didn't take care of it? Well, you know, we're trying to take care of past sins and also make the building good for now, sustainable, and also look to the future as far as maintaining stuff. Most libraries have separate maintenance people, have a director and assistant director. There's a lot of things that we do that I think the town and the board are clueless about. And we do it willingly because we love our library and we care. You have not had people that have loved this library and cared and do the job well. Matter of fact, the last couple of directors have cost us money, both in spending and absconding kind of a thing. So I know you're trying to make simple of things and it's about the dollar, but there's so much more involved that I think we don't get support, we don't get credit for, that we do and are taken advantage of because of who we are and how we do feel about our library. Maybe if you could just kind of consider those things when putting a price tag on us and the hours and whatnot. It should matter for something.
Okay, can I make a point? Joan said 20 minutes ago that this isn't anything that we can make a decision on now. This is not, at this point, I don't think anything that's going into the budget that has to go in a month, unless the board votes and says, yes, we want to do this within the next month. This we should be arguing right now if it's not going into this current budget that we're writing. It is something then that we will have to talk about over meetings of the next 6 to 8 months and figure it out. But I don't think that.
I think, I'm sorry, Karen, and I think the whole year we were talking about coming back to discussing this particular question during our budget season. That was what we're postponing. So that was, this is, as I understand, exactly the time how we want to see. I would suggest if we do the budget, maybe we budget it somehow. The same amount for both situations. How we have two, if we have two co-directors, this is how it goes. And second, if we have one director and programmer, how it goes, and maybe combine some positions in case we end up with one director. If we end up hiring one director for 60,000, then we have another position, like we pay 86,000. So we keep those 86,000, making sure that 60,000, for example, will go to a new director and 26,000 to a program. So that's, I'm not saying we have to take decision and quickly hire. I'm saying so we would look at this particular line in our budget, getting into consideration that maybe we will be able to get somehow positions differently. And if Hope is not interested, different people. I don't know. I'm just saying for all this time we were talking about this budget time when we're gonna start talking about this position. So let's don't just close our eyes on it.
Okay, well, if that's the case, we could have a vote right now as to what people want to do. We could think about it and have a vote next week as we're talking about the budget.
Yeah, let's just think about it. Let's just all think about it, you know, do more research. I understand if the director is 60,000, okay, so we can let's increase a little bit salaries if we have to, but not like increase an extra position, which will continue to drain our budgets in future.
So
This is a policy decision. You don't make policy decisions at 8:45 at night when you've had only about a half an hour discussion.
we're not, Joan, we're not
So see you next
making
meeting.
a policy
okay?
decision right now.
Can I move that we adjourn?
Yes, that
For
would be
tonight?
very nice. Thank you.
Okay? I think it's time. And as
Definitely.
Elena said, think. She used the
Yes.
operative word, think. So that's good.
Yes.
Okay, so I'm going to move that we close this meeting and we think for a week until we get back together.
Okay. Do I have a second on that motion?
I second it.
Elena seconding. All in favor of quitting? My head is just pounding right now. I got to think about this. Say aye.
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 Guys.
Okay, so we will meet again at this time next Wednesday. Thank you for your input, Nick. I appreciate it. I wrote all of it down. And just let's get some more information on some of the things we asked for. Let's think about stuff and we'll just meet up again next week.
Thank
Everybody
you.
have a good night.
You too. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Karen.
Good
Bye.
night.